Legends, welcome back to another Ruck Infringement Podcast team preview. This week, we are doing the Gold Coast Titans. Now, as you can see, if you're watching on the YouTube, I am on my own again, but we're going to get through the Gold Coast Titans, ready for Vegas, and watch some rugby league. But let's get straight into it now. As we do in all of our team previews, we're going to jump into the ins and outs of the Gold Coast Titans. So let's go through the 2025 ins now. Now, Carter Gordon comes over from the Australian Rugby. Sam Stevenson on a development contract. Regan Campbell-Gillard is the big one from the Eels. Their 2025 outs, of course, they lose Aaron Clark to the Warriors, Isaac Liu to the Lee Leopards, Joe Stimson is unsigned, Tanner Boyd to the Warriors, and Keenan Palacia to the Leeds Rhinos. Now, what a fringe players there. Of course, Aaron Clark, probably the big one that's gone, Isaac Liu as well. But the ins, Regan Campbell-Gillard, we've seen what he's done at Parramatta and Penrith before that, has played State of Origin footy as well. So we know he's a fantastic forward. I think this forward pack of the Titans is their biggest seller. It's huge. You've got Regan Campbell-Gillard, Tino, David Fafita, Mo Fotuaika. So they've got plenty of talent in that forward pack, and it's going to be wonderful to see the go forward from them. When we look at the backline, backline's probably their weakest spot. I think the centres are quite weaker. Brian Kelly's been around for a while, so he'll get the job done. There's no one really chopping at the bit there to come through, and I think that's a bit of a weak spot for the Gold Coast Titans. But let's jump into our predicted lineup, 1 to 17. Now, of course, if you are listening for the first time, I'll give you my 1 to 17. If there is an injury, I will give you an alternative. But let's start at the back, of course, the fullback, Keanu Kinney. Now, what a fantastic kid this is. Has brushed onto the scene and is absolutely killing it at the moment at the Gold Coast Titans. And he'll definitely be the fullback. He's in my starting squad at the moment. If we move into the wingers, now the wingers are an interesting one. We've seen Lofty Khan-Pereira over the past couple of seasons. He has scored so many tries, one of the top try scorers last season, in a team that doesn't really do that well. But the attacking upside that Khan-Pereira has is second to none, and I think he'll definitely have that spot. Now, the other one, Philip Sami, has played there before, but I've actually moved Philip Sami into a different position. So for me, I'm going with Tony Francis. Played in the trials, looked really, really good. I'm going to have Tony Francis starting on my wing with Khan-Pereira on the other side. Now, if we move into the centres, I mentioned that man before, Brian Kelly, so he's definitely one centre who is locked straight in. But the other one I've got is Philip Sami. Now, I really like what I see from Sami, and I think he might play more centre this season than wing. I think he's a bigger body, and I think he'll cope with that pressure well. So I've actually got Philip Sami in my centre position there. Now, if we move into the halves, they've been highly talked about, much debated here at the Gold Coast Titans. Of course, last year, Kieran Foran was the main man at number 7. Campbell played a bit of 6. So did Brimson for a time. But this year, it looks like it's Brimson and Campbell's turn, 6 and 7 respectively. I've got them as mine to start the year. I was really, really impressed in that Dolphins trial with both of them. I thought Brimson, we know the talent that he possesses, and whether it's centre, fullback, 5'8", wherever he's needed to play, he will, and he plays it very well. I think you have to have him in your team. It's a really hard choice having Keeney, Brimson, and Campbell, and where do you play them all? They can't all be the fullback, but you've got to have them all in there because they're all just such talent. So they would be my 6 and 7. If we move into the front row, now the front row is interesting as well. Regan Campbell-Gillard, of course, as I said, comes over from the Eels. However, it's going to be interesting if we start with him. I think he could be a bit of a bench forward. I've got Mo Fotuaika starting at 8 with Tino Malawali. I never get his name right, so very sorry there, Tino. We'll just call him Big T. I've got Tino at 10, and my hooker, of course, young Semi Verrills. Now, Semi Verrills has been going around for a little bit. You got Chris Randall, who can play a little bit there as well. I'm going to chuck Semi Verrills in at my hooker. Jumping into the second row, David Fafita speaks for itself, and Beau Fermor, who has been incredible. I thought he was really good in that Dolphins trial as well. A couple of tries and just a good player, a big body, one to keep an eye out on this year. I think he's going to have a really, really good 2025. But they are my second rowers. Now, my 13 is a hard one because usually we've seen over the past couple of seasons, Chris Randall's played a bit there, Aaron Clark, they've trialled these players, and I think Chris Randall may get the starting spot in round 1 at 13. It's going to be interesting. I don't think you go Campbell Gillard unless you move a Campbell Gillard to 10 and play Tino at 13, which you could definitely do as well. But I'm going to look in Chris Randall to start at 13 in this team. I think he's definitely got the size for it now and the motor as well. So he will be my lock. And now if we move into the bench is a really interesting one. We've got a few players. Kieran Foran played off the bench in the trials. It was very strange. He looked battered and bruised and playing up through the middle, and it just was a very, very weird decision. But I think he'll be the 14 heading into 2025. Of course, age not on his side. If we look at the 15, 16, 17, I think Cleese Haas will be there. Of course, Isaac Fasul Malawi as well, Tino's younger brother. There's lots, as I said before, Regan Campbell-Gillard I think will start off the bench. So they do have a lot of players. Jamin Jolliffe has been really good over the past couple of years as well. There's a few players there that can fill in, and it's really, really good for the Titans to have. I think over the past couple of years, it's been a bit of an area where they've needed to improve, just having those players, having that depth, and they seem to have that. Of course, Carter Gordon's another one coming over from the Australian rugby, touted to be a really, really good player. So will he get a run in the halves? Will he play off the bench? Who knows? It remains to be seen. We obviously have to wait till our first team list and the next few after that to see what happens. But that's it for my predicted lineup. Let's jump into a bit of Supercoach now. Of course, don't forget, you can join our Supercoach comp. I do have the code there, 215716. If you are watching on the YouTube, it is just there below us, there somewhere. So you can definitely check that out. Of course, we do have an NRL fantasy comp running as well with the code PCDNXS7S. PCDNXS7S. And of course, that is there as well. But let's talk Supercoach tonight. That's the relevance I'm going to go. We're going to look at a couple of players for your Supercoach team that play for the Gold Coast Titans. You don't have to take them. This is just merely opinion, but I think you might want to, because there's one or two in here that I'm very, very high on heading into this year. But let me just get that up, the Gold Coast Titans. Of course, the first one I want to talk about, David Fifita. Now, I want to preface by saying this. The Titans do have the bye in round 1. So don't go crazy, go buy all of them ready for your first round, because they're not going to make you any points the first week. So you do have that week to just sit off all your Titans players, bring them in round 2, unless you're looping and you want to use that as a loop. But David Fifita, 749K, second row, fantastic player. Premium option, we know what he's provided in the past. He's coming back off an injury, so will be a little bit tender, but looked good in the trials. I think he'll be ready to go. Keanu Kinney, fullback, 707K. Price is elevated because of his fantastic 2024 season. For me, I'm not starting with him. I can see the upside there, absolutely, but I think there's cheaper fullbacks to start the year, especially in Supercoach. If I move into the next one, Jaden Campbell, 5'8 fullback dual. Dual is always handy to have, and it makes it very, very juicy. 700K. Now, Jaden Campbell's an interesting one. I had him in my team. I've taken him out. I've put him back in. He's sort of in and out of my squad at the moment. I don't know if I want to get him or not. Look, I think having that coverage at fullback and 5'8 really does help. So he's definitely an option moving forward. I just have to see where I want to take my team, and again, wait for team lists to see if other players that I have are playing or not. The next one I want to talk about, both for more second row and center wing. Now, very, very handy. 593K, but when you've got a player that can play second row or center wing, that's what you want. To have a premium center who is named at second row is fantastic. We've got Dylan Lucas as well from the Newcastle Knights, but Famore's a real good option for me. Not many people on him at the moment. I'm really thinking about bringing him in. I just, again, am waiting, of course, till round 2, but he's definitely an option for me. The next one, Alex Brimson, 5'8 center wing dual, 539K. Now, again, having that 5'8 center wing dual is just so handy because you can cover both of those positions, and you can play him in either one, even though he will just be playing 5'8. So it's so good to have. And look, he's another player that could be quite handy. Don't think he's going to play Origin, so you'll have him over that period as well. Moving down just underneath him, Tino Fasul Malawi, of course, the captain, second row, front row dual, 531K. Now, a great option. He's in my team at the moment. I think he's set for a really big 2025, Tino. We know what he's done over the past couple of seasons, and I think he is ready and primed for a big year. So definitely one to bring in, I reckon. Let's move down the list a bit now. I want to talk about some players that are a bit cheaper that may get a bit of a start. Tony Francis, as I mentioned before, centre wing, 232K. Now, if he does land the wing spot like I'm predicting, that's very, very juicy. At 232K, you think he'll play 1, 2, 3 weeks even. Who's going to make you cash? He's going to make you cash either way. If he does get the start, get him in, play him for a couple of weeks, get a bit of cash, and then sell him and upgrade if you need to. One for the Black Book, of course, Zane Harrison. Now, halfback coming through at the Gold Coast Titans, 198K. Don't think he gets a crack this year, barring lots of injuries, but this kid is very, very good. Now, Zane Harrison, remember the name because you're going to be hearing a lot about him in the future. But that is it for Supercoach. Don't forget to check out our Supercoach comp at 215716 and our NRL fantasy comp as well, PCD and XS7S. They're the codes there. I will drop them in the description here on YouTube and Spotify as well. You are playing for Supercoach Championship rings for both. So the rings are amazing. Shout out to our sponsors, SC Rings, there for providing those awesome prizes. All right, let's talk about the Gold Coast Titans now. Now, heading into 2025, it's not looking fantastic for them. The trial form was a bit up and down. They got 50 put on them against a second-string Broncos side, and then they beat the Dolphins, who many have predicted in their bottom 4 for this season. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Titans go. Personally, I've got them in my bottom 4 as well. I just think with the squad that they've got, I think they're going to need a lot of things to go their way. I think they're going to need a lot to happen for them to be successful, and I don't think that's going to happen. I really like their players. AJ Brimson, Jaden Campbell, Keanu Kinney. They're electrifying players. They're players that you know you can get the most out of, and they'll support you wherever you need them on the field. And then Big Tino, of course, if he can have a year like we saw a couple of years ago, then that will take them a long way in this competition. But it remains to be seen. He's coming back off an injury, of course, for Fida as well. So for me, I've got them in that bottom 4. And for all those Titan fans out there, it's not because I don't like the Titans. I'm just being realistic for their season. And unfortunately, realism this year is a bottom 4 finish. I think they need a lot of things to happen for them to be successful, and only time will tell. Now, before we finish up on tonight's team preview, I just want to go through a dynamite player for the Titans in 2025. Now, if you are listening for the first time, we give a dynamite player, a player that's about to explode in 2025. It can be a rookie. It can be someone who's been there for 10 plus years. My dynamite player is Beau Fermor this year. I have loved this guy ever since he joined the Titans. I think he's fantastic. He can fill in at second row or in the centres there as well. Look, on the cusp of Queensland Origin, he's just a fantastic player, and I really think this year could be a year that we see him break out. I think it could be a year where we see him become a leader in this team and really step up and take control of the Titans. So I'm tipping a big one for Beau Fermor, and it's going to be fantastic to see if he can live up to the expectations. But look, that is all we have time for on the Gold Coast Titans team preview. Thank you for joining me. Of course, check us out on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Of course, YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, all your listening platforms. Don't forget to join our Supercoach comp and our NRL fantasy comp. Of course, those codes are in the description, so check them out. Join. There is still plenty of time to join. You can join mid-season if you want to. Enjoy your night and enjoy Vegas.